Welcome participants. We will focus on a particular issue on embracing neurodiversity. Now, what is embracing? Embracing diversity will expose you to new viewpoints and information. Getting to know people who are different than you will help. It will help you to learn and grow. Embracing neurodiversity is about getting to know and appreciate people of different religious, cultures, groups, ethnic groups, socio-economic groups, or ages. Embracing neurodiversity or any kind of diversity is trying something new. Anytime we step outside our comfort zone, we need to build that understanding. Unless and until we build the understanding, we cannot embrace the thing we are looking to. So, dear participants, today's session will focus on some of the aspects of how to embrace neurodiversity. In getting to know about the neurodiversity understanding and also how to embrace, we will come across some of the experts' view, some examples, some books which delineates about embracing neurodiversity. The session starts with a little bit of background in embracing neurodiversity. The cumulative effect of numerous studies suggests that a more judicious approach to treating mental disorders would be to replace a disability or illness paradigm with a diversity perspective that takes into account both strengths and weaknesses, and the idea that variation can be positive in and of itself. Well, to this end, a new term has risen within the autism rights community, and the term is neurodiversity. As we have already learned that neurodiversity actually started with the first condition, that is autism. And under this autism as a diversity, there were numerous movements that took place that brought to the light the rights and entitlements of this community. Nevertheless, in the later period, numerous other conditions got associated with neurodiversity, and right now neurodiversity has number of spectrum and conditions that commute to the term neurodiversity. Although the origin of the neurodiversity movement is often traced back to a speech entitled "Don't Mourn for Us," given by autism activist Jim Sinclair at the 1993 International Conference on Autism in Toronto. The word itself was first used by autism rights advocate, we all know, Judy Singer. In 1993, she coined the term, and New York journalist Harvey Bloom, to articulate the needs of people with autism who did not want to be defined by a disability label, but wished to be seen instead as neurologically different. Now, what is the myth of this normal brain? We often say that neurodiversity is actually the differently wired brain system. So what is the normal brain? Well, the normal brain is the people who are regarded as neurotypical, that is, their brain is normal in functioning. Why? Because most of the people having this normal brain and their activities are accepted by the society. And the people whose brains are differently wired come under neurodiversity, and they cannot be treated as disabled or some pathological condition. So here lies the myth behind the normal brain. Why can't we accept that a different thing can think also differently and can yield something very innovative and creative. So there is no normal flower or culture. Similarly, we ought to accept the fact that there is no normal brain or mind. Nothing can be called as normal. Something which deviates from the normal cannot be called as something disable. So as a term, it recognizes that everyone with a neurological difference is an individual, compared to being part of a labeled group who will all behave, act or learn in the same way. Neurodiversity focuses on embracing what people with additional needs can do rather than what they can't do. This is a core part of the debate around the term that resonates a lot with, as we should seek to celebrate successes rather than failures. The term diversity is the spice of life is so good to hear, is so good to say, but when it comes into practice, we think that this diversity is deviation from the normal and cannot be celebrated and cannot be taken into account. Why? Neurodiversity equates to the diversity of humanity because it means different, not flawed, and everyone is different. No two individuals are alike. That's why we call individual difference, don't we? It seeks to ensure that this difference should be celebrated and thus adds value to the collective quality of life. Some people find problems with words like neurodivergent. Why? As a collective term for various traits with an indefinite amount of variation, it can feel like a blanket term. As we have already gone through modules 1, 2, 3, 4, where different kinds of neurodiversity types and their accommodations, their management, all these things have been dealt, where we find a number of variation, rather a spectrum, conditions of things which actually subsume into a neurodiversity concept. For some, it can be using terms like neurodivergent, neurotypical, and similar, emphasizing difference. Besides the language around neurodiversity, the language are the neurodivergent, neurotypical, neurodiverse, has also some inbuilt negativity. Some advocates do disregard these terminologies because they feel that it carries a negative notion with it. Take for example, ADHD. It hosts two negative words, deficit and disorder. The name has stuck, yet it is so crucial to ensure we challenge conventional norms. We do agree something which is the norm is very hard to disregard. But in order to embrace neurodiversity, in order to collectively welcome all the people under one roof, it is necessary we should get out of these notions and connotations. In the beginning, as I have already mentioned, that we will hear some experts speak on how can we embrace neurodiversity. Here we have Thomas Armstrong quoted, "There is no standard brain." A term I want to highlight here is intersectionality. As a term, it means having more than one neurodiverse trait. Ironically, it is very common and can make specific diagnosis difficult. As in my case, I face extreme difficulty trying to get a diagnosis of dyslexia, ADHD and anxiety. As we know, these are the types of neurodiversity umbrella. Well, having people who think differently and see the world differently is really going to support innovation. This is said by none other than James Cusack, CEO of Charity Autistica. Now we call it embracing neurodiversity. We are advocating the understanding of neurodiversity. We want to celebrate diversity. So why it matters? We take an example of an organization. In any organization, there remains a problem around processes built around certain labels. It doesn't have to be an issue at all if you take a holistic approach to inclusivity where labels no longer matter. Nevertheless, this is often not the case and can have significant impact across. So by pivoting such processes, several positive changes are seen, including productivity gains, quality improvement to boost in innovative capabilities and increased employee engagement as a result. It matters because it is the culture evolution that will bring a huge change, a sea of change in the minds of the people. Seeing things differently is an asset, gives way to innovation. The moment we understand the different is an asset and it is a way to innovation, we are ready to embrace neurodiversity or any kind of diversity. So embracing neurodiversity takes us to a step further, which can be tagged as think differently and think bigger. So for that, we need new perspectives, different ideas and broader ways of thinking to solve the big problems of our time. So benefits of inclusion holds lots of opportunities for thinking bigger and embracing different ways of thinking. We will cite another example over here. Many people on the autism spectrum excel in areas such as logic, technology skills, problem solving, pattern recognition, precision, sustained concentration, analysis and other unique cognitive functions. So these differently wired brains actually supports the unique cognitive functions. So how can we call them disabled? How can we label them as pathological conditions? Yet people on the autism spectrum are often overlooked for jobs. This is a harsh reality. Over the time, it has been recorded that there is a slight rise in embracing the different diversities across the globe. The Auticon company has just released its 2021 Global Impact Report showing how employment can help benefit the lives of autistic adults by improving their confidence, skill set and giving them autonomy over their lives. Their study, conducted by social impact specialists, Aileron, they found 75% of their autistic technology consultants said their self-confidence had improved at Auticon and 82% saw an improvement in their well-being. This was referred by Richard Branson in 2021, a very recent study. So such rise in embracing is definitely a very positive way towards neurodiversity. Now here I will share with you a book, The Spectrum Girl Survival Guide by Sienna Castellon. The two main themes of this book are, number one, we deserve to be accepted and embraced for who are we. Society pressurizes autistic girls to mask their true self so that they can fit in and appear normal. This can be devastating to our sense of self-worth and our mental health. So this book deals with this first aspect. Now the second theme of this book is an advice on how to navigate school as an autistic teenager. Here Sienna discusses socializing and making friends, crushes and dating, gender identity, social media, bullying and much more. So this is a very good book by Sienna Castellon, as she herself is an autistic girl. So she has penned down her experience in every nook and cranny of this book. As we come to the end of this session, we will wind up with few lines. Unfortunately, society isn't very tolerant of people who are different. A girl says, I can't remember a time at school when I wasn't bullied, which explained why I have been to 11 schools. I had to change 11 schools because I was bullied in each and every school I was admitted to. When I was diagnosed as being autistic, I learned that 75% of autistic students report being bullied. This extract is also being taken from the Spectrum Girls Survival Guide. And to end the session, let me quote an example from this book. I am told I look normal and not autistic. People think this is a compliment when it is actually an insult. So let's start embracing neurodiversity.